Okay. I'm gonna talk about Usopp from One Piece. You know, out of all the Straw Hats, he, I think he's got the biggest, like, the most important story to tell as far as from where he started to where he is now, because it's pretty impressive. He first I'm gonna talk a little bit about him, of course. He is the third member of Luffy's crew, and yes, I consider him the third, not the fourth. I don't count Luffy as a member of his own crew. I consider him the captain, therefore the leader. When he said he's going to get 10 guys, I considered him not to be part of those 10. So I think there's two more Straw Hats coming and not one more, but that's my personal opinion. So yeah, Usopp is the third member of Luffy's crew, and he worked on that ship a lot. He pretty much fixes the ship every time it broke. Well, fixed the old ship, the Going Merry. He fixed that ship. The new one he doesn't have to fix anymore because they got Frankie. He's an inventor. He can invent these like gadgets. He can't really like invent entire huge machinery, but he can invent, like little gadgets and doohickeys and whatnot. Really, he's an artist, and he can sculpt and things. He's really talented art and stuff. I've noticed. And last but not least, he's the sharpshooter of the Straw Hats. And you know, I have and let's not forget, he's also the self-proclaimed assistant captain, though he keeps because he likes to, even though he really likes to say he's the captain, Captain Usopp, he keeps calling himself that when he's not the captain. Um, at the beginning of this series, he didn't have much going for him. I mean, even some people didn't think he would be part of Luffy's crew when he first showed up, just because of the way he looks and the way he acts. He's a total coward. He has a long nose, looks awkward, because a lot of times when you have an anime character, there's not going to be any flaws with the way they look. They always tend to look, gorgeous and pretty boys, and just always like eye candy for the opposite gender. And Usopp isn't exactly that. Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some fangirls of his, but and he's annoying. He can be annoying, and he didn't have much going for him, and he's weak. He wasn't a really good fighter to begin with, and he's still the weakest member on the ship, but he's evolved since then. So this is one of those characters that didn't have much going for him at the beginning. He had to work for what he has now. Speaking of his fighting, this character, has pretty much takes whatever he can get and uses it. At first, he used this. Well, he still does use this toy slingshot that pretty much he just fired to begin with. Little lead BBs and what else did he fire out of that thing? I know he started using caltrops in the beginning. What else did he use? And gunpowder stars. That used gunpowder stars, and that's the name for most of. For everything he shoots out of his slingshot, he calls it star usually. But then, as he tapped into his inventor potentials, he started making little trick items, because he likes to trick people. He's a lot. He's famous, said in the town, as being a liar. So he's really good at tricking people. So he likes to use these hot sauce stars and rotten egg stars. Was the next things he started using. And he uses ninja weapons than the ninjas from Naruto, which is kind of sad. He uses, like I said before, caltrops and these shurikens, and not just one. He puts them on a string, and it's like really cool. Then he has this giant inflatable hammer and this regular sized hammer. And the dials from Skypiea. Oh, and a rubber band. And that would be about all I can remember of his weapons right now. He's got a lot. I know he's got more, but I don't feel like going on. But like I was saying before, he was a coward and a liar, which, everyone in this town hated him. He was looked down upon. And even when you first look into it, you kind of look down upon him, but then you get an understanding for the character as you read in on him, and you're like, he's not actually such a bad guy. And, but he still stays a coward, and you're thinking, well, how can a coward be, part of this great group of pirates? And, he's had to get over some things and learn to cope with his cowardness, and he's really fast at running. He runs away from a fight and like lightning speed. It's hilarious. And yeah, he's a total coward, and sometimes he'll be scared to death, and there's even some moments where he's like, I can't do this anymore. And then something comes, and he all of a sudden he gets his courage up. Something happens and it makes him gain courage. It's really kind of moving. So yeah, this character, I really like Usopp, and I think there is some more to be said, but I'm going to talk about a completely different character now. His name is Sogeking. First of all, for any One Piece fans that are asking about the whole Sogeking versus Choppa Man, Sogeking FTW, Sogeking for the win, because I don't really like Choppa Man. I don't like the One Piece specials, really. They kind of annoy me. I mean, I like the Japanese special, but the Choppa Man special, I didn't like it. I'm sorry. It really kind of just dragged time away from the show, and I didn't like it. But yeah, Sogeking, for anyone who hasn't figured out by now, is Usopp's superhero identity. He forms it because he wants to help Luffy and them, but he got into a fight with Luffy, and he wants to help Luffy's crew save Robin, but he can't because he just got into this huge fight with Luffy, and surprisingly managed to almost win. Like, I actually thought he was going to win when I was watching the fight, and he's the weakest member of the crew versus the strongest member of the crew. It was a really impressive fight and really put some depth into Usopp's character. And to me, Sogeking, after all's done and said, has become the thing of courage for Usopp. It's actually, there's a moment in Thriller Bark where he actually puts on the mask and actually starts thinking he's Sogeking, and all of a sudden he's got really good courage again. But, it's still Usopp underneath. It's not like he's a totally new, brave warrior, superhero, or whatever. Usopp is one of a real fan favorite of the Straw.
And, like I said, he had to work for everything he has. And, he still has those traits. And with all this, he's actually a very big comedic relief character, too. And, if it wasn't for Usopp, I don't think the Straw Hats would have made it as far, because, like I said before, he didn't build the ship. He kept repairing it. I mean, yeah, it was more like jury rigging, but still, if it wasn't for him, the Going Merry wouldn't have been able to make it as far as it did. Usopp is one of my favorite characters from One Piece. In fact, all my favorite characters from One Piece are the Straw Hats themselves. And, yep, that's that. Go Usopp.